An American retail icon taking some drastic cost-cutting steps. Sears says it will close 68 of its Kmart stores and 10 of its Sears stores across 27 states.
The best to you from Kmart Radio. KMRT.
Anyone who knows a thing or two about Kmart has likely heard the phrase SSKresge at some point in time or another. SSKresge was a company formed in 1899, just after dissolving their previous partnership with Five and Dime stores, and Cheyenne's first Kmart location actually opened during the time which the parent company was still known as SSKresge. Store number 4413, Cheyenne's original Kmart, opened on East Pershing Boulevard just north of Omaha Road, which, as it turns out, Omaha Road once intersected with East Pershing Boulevard. This Kmart appears to have opened on Thursday, April 1st, 1971, just under 10 years following the first ever Kmart branded department store, which opened in Garden City, Michigan. The Cheyenne store featured the classic Kmart cafe with their well-known sandwiches. It also included a garden shop and an auto center. Cheyenne soon saw a second Kmart open on the north end of town. Store number 7424, the Yellowstone Rd Kmart, opened at the end of June 1981 as Wyoming's 8th Kmart location. It included a complete automotive section in addition to many of the other departments common in Kmart stores of that time frame. Something I was surprised to learn was that next door to this Kmart was a Payless Shoe Source location. Although it's quite common for Kmarts to have a neighboring tenant, I was previously unaware of this Payless location, one of 3 Payless Shoe Source locations which I now know Cheyenne had. Probably one of the most significant parts of the next 10 years in Kmart's history was the year 1984, when Kmart purchased 2 major specialty retailers, Walden Books and Home Centers of America, think Builders Square. However, the year 1991 probably takes the cake of the decade, since that's when Kmart opened their first Super Kmart in Medina, Ohio. In that very same year, 1991, Kmart would make a bold move with the Cheyenne Kmart stores. On Thursday, August 1st, 1991, Cheyenne's third Kmart location, store 3891, would open along Dell Range Blvd. Or actually, perhaps, it opened on July 29th, 1991. I don't know. In any case, the then manager of this Kmart noted that the new Cheyenne store was the only one of its kind in the Front Range at the time, and to my surprise, the Dell Range Kmart took the place of both the previous 2 Cheyenne Kmart stores. Not one, not the other, both of the 2 Cheyenne Kmart stores, both of which would close by or within the following month, as confirmed by photos dated the end of August 1991. Beginning in the late 1990s, many Kmart stores around America would supersize. No, not that supersize. I mean, they rebranded to a big Kmart, a store that included all the departments of previous Kmarts, plus a grocery section. The weird thing with the Cheyenne store is that, thus far, I've been unable to find a specific point where this store switched to the Big K branding. As far as I can tell at this point in time, this change was made to the Cheyenne store by or before the early 2000s. Similar to Cheyenne's third Sears, I have many memories of visiting Cheyenne's third Kmart store. The store included a Kmart cafe and a garden shop, but both of those parts of the store were shuttered around the turn of the 2010s or so. I think the garden shop stuff, I think they still sold some of the supplies you might get in the garden shop, but they really didn't use the section that was meant for the garden shop. Actually, come to think of it, at one point I recall peering around the vinyl tarp at the former K Cafe in the Cheyenne Kmart, quite similar to how I peered through a doorway at the K Cafe at the Loveland Kmart. You know, just curious to see if any K Cafe remnants were present behind the scenes. Of which, unlike the Loveland Kmart, I saw very few remnants here at the Cheyenne store. Sadly, in January 2017, Cheyenne's Kmart would be announced to close, and it ended up closing for the final time in March of that year. By now, you're likely wondering, whatever happened with all of these former Kmart stores? Are the buildings still standing and replaced? Or like the Fort Collins Kmart, have they been demolished? Let's start with Cheyenne's first Kmart, which was located on East Pershing Blvd. It was vacant only very briefly, with construction work beginning by the end of August 1991 on what would soon be the Jonah Business Center. After 20 years based in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and 3 years of talks with Cheyenne leads, Safeguard Services moved to Cheyenne in 1992. Between 1991 and 1995, then named Noel Griffith Jr. and Associates renovated the entire building into the Jonah Business Center, even expanding the building with even more office space on the south edge of the building. Oddly, Safeguard apparently moved to Jacksonville, Florida by the year 1995. Although, Cheyenne City Directories list Safeguard at the old Kmart until the year 1997, for whatever reason that is. The second Cheyenne Kmart on Yellowstone Road was replaced by a Sutherlands lumber store in 1994. That store lived on until 2015 when they decided to close the Cheyenne location. That kind of sucked for me in that they had unique products not sold at other hardware and lumber stores that I frequented in the Cheyenne area, and I do miss that store. In 2018 and into 2019, the Wyoming Department of Workforce Services renovated the former Sutherlands, ultimately moving into the space, and Wyoming Department of Workforce Services is what is there today. Cheyenne's third Kmart on Dell Range Blvd has had a little bit of a rocky road, but thankfully it has been in use since its 2017 closure. By November 2017, the east portion of the third Kmart location was being renovated so that Cheyenne's Hobby Lobby could relocate into the former Kmart, and Hobby Lobby's new location would open on June 11th, 2018, having a grand opening at that point. The renovation also added a second storefront that has been used by Spirit Halloween multiple times over the years. There were plans for a Burlington coat factory to actually take over part of the new space, along with another tenant, of course. And later there was another set of plans that showed a little bit different style on the facade, a little bit different take of the Burlington look. But the previous permits for the Burlington ultimately all expired, meaning that they would have to get new permits if they were to come to Cheyenne at this point. With that in mind, I don't foresee Burlington Coat Factory coming to Cheyenne in the immediate future, although if this changes, I'll certainly have to post about it over on the Optopolis blogspot page. The portion of the Dell Range Kmart that has remained mostly untouched since the Kmart's closure is actually the garden shop. This area, which us retail enthusiasts often jokingly call the Kmart prison yard, to this day it looks like part of the former Kmart. I think the only major change to this section is that the big gates to the outside portion of the garden shop have, well, they've seen some better days, to say the least.
So to my surprise, they actually put the gates back on. They still have seen better days, but they actually put the gates back on. So now you can't get back there so easily, which that's probably a good thing.
Unfortunately, although I did find photos confirming both Cheyenne's old Kmarts must have closed by the end of August 1991, thus far I've been unable to confirm if either of the original Cheyenne Kmarts had any overlap with the Dell Range Kmart or not. I don't know. I found an ad that suggests that Pay and Pack Home Centers briefly had an auction at the Yellowstone Kmart in 1992, although I've not found any photos to confirm if they actually used the Kmart space or not. Plus, the address on the ad for the auction mentions that the auction happened in Suite A. And at least in the city directories and also on the ads that I saw, Kmart didn't call their space Suite A. The other thing I wasn't able to figure out for this video is when the Dell Range Kmart shifted into the Big K branding. Most stores should have done this between 1995 and 2000, and it does include the Laramie Kmart. However, as of yet, I've been unable to find any mention of when the rebrand happened. Unlike Sears history as it relates to Cheyenne, Kmart has not had a comeback to Cheyenne, but I think the biggest plot twist that I didn't see coming was that the third store did indeed replace the older two stores, not just one or the other. I would like to give a shout out to my channel members who support the channel through Patreon and YouTube. If you like the content you see here and would like to further support the journey, you can find links to all of that stuff in the description. Definitely smash the like button if you enjoyed this video, disliked if you disliked. Until next time, peace out everybody. Have a fantastic night.